Hey everybody, Rosie here. Welcome to Son of Sam Saturday Night Live. I'm so grateful that you're here with me. Looks like sound is okay. Just gonna give it a moment. If you're here watching, say hello in chat away in chat. On today's live, we're gonna cover a few loose ends from our last live 2 weeks ago. Thank you all that participated in that and left such nice comments for me. It was really awesome. We got such positive feedback that we're considering doing them every other week. And if it picks up and it's warranted, then we will maybe go weekly eventually. Thanks, Nutty. Cool. All right. So the mic is sounding good. I don't need to do a check. So I guess we're going to just jump into it. On the last live, we covered a little bit of the case of Klausner and his book, and there were a few things that we talked about with regards to a short presentation that I had put together in video format on the Middle of Silence cult. I think most of you, let me take that off. That was one of my critiques, is that I leave the chat on for too long. So I'm going to try to be mindful of that. But I did hear a lot of feedback also on the Middle of Silence cult. So we're going to kind of start off there. Let's get this on the screen for you. I think that's as big as I can get it without it starting to do wonky shit. So I had said that we were going to cover this in the next live, which was 2 weeks ago, and I didn't. So I'm going to go through this quickly with you. The Middle of Silence cult, they, even after Berkowitz renounced the demon story and the possession story, they still stayed in contact and communication with him. And they knew how he felt about the Klausner book. So what they did was they started this campaign in support of how Berkowitz felt. And I'm just going to read a little bit of this to you. This was something that I found on an auction site and is how I became aware of this cult that David Berkowitz was, we'll say, slightly involved with. The pamphlet that they had put out was called Drop the David Berkowitz Book. And it's the Middle of Silence Gallery, 65 Carmine Street, New York, New York, 10014. We, the Middle of Silence Gallery, a commune of socially concerned writers and artists, are handing out this leaflet today to protest McGraw-Hill's decision to publish the authorized story of David Berkowitz, the notorious Son of Sam. We give these reasons. First, the book is not authorized in any way by David Berkowitz. He was not consulted about the writing of the book or even informed of its planned publication. Well, we know that's not true. He knew it was coming out. In fact, he does not want the book published at all. Berkowitz believes that his lawyers, Leon Stern and Ira Joltak, and his court-appointed conservator, Doris Johnson, who gave her permission for its creation and publication, are using his legal status as an incompetent way to enrich themselves. Not only does Berkowitz believe that his greedy lawyers and conservator are undeserving of receiving the large compensations the book will provide, but it also seems probable that his lawyers have acted illegally and certainly unethically in providing personal and intimate material supposedly protected by the code of confidentiality between lawyer and client, and also lawyer and doctor, to the author, Lawrence Klausner. The information will probably be used in a lurid and sensational manner in order to ensure a large readership and larger profits. Berkowitz feels that the grisly details of his crimes, as well as the lure of the limelight, will tempt other sick individuals to maim and kill new victims of their own, leading to more books and more movies and still more victims, on in an endless chain. Anxious that the book might stir up hatreds and hurts anew, Berkowitz fears that the life of his father or family might be jeopardized by revenge-seeking individuals. But even if he cannot halt its publication, Berkowitz wants all profits from the book or movie deal to go to the Crime Victims Compensation Board. You take that off for a bit. And I'll take a quick look at the chat. Yeah, Nutty, this is the cult video that I did in video format. I know you saw it because you wrote on it. But they're writing this leaflet. They initially, this is the cult that wanted to exorcise him by mail. They believed that Berkowitz was demon possessed, and they wanted to do, well, they started exorcism by the mail, and then they sent their attorney in to Judge Corso to get approval for members to visit Berkowitz. But this letter that I just read you, this leaflet that was put out, was actually put out before the Klausner book, so it was around 81. Yeah, I think I answered that question. Did they know about his possession before DB's arrest? Yes. Great question. In the last video, I explained that it was as early as June of 77, so they had no idea who Berkowitz was, but they were already making, public statements that he could have been, or, well, they didn't know it was a he, but, that the assailant could have been demonically possessed. So, yes, they knew about Berkowitz before he was even caught. All right, so now to also close another loop on that, you may have seen on my wall, a lot of the questions that came in were, who was this cult? Were they connected with the process? Were they part of the Sylvanians? And so I dug some more. It's not real easy to find much about this cult since they went into obscurity in the 80s, but I'll read you a few things that I did find. This was something, again, that I put on my wall, the Middle of Silence Gallery connections. Maury Terry was well aware of the gallery or the cult. Both Bernice and Dee were in contact with the gallery cult. The Queen's DA contacted Middle of Silence in an attempt to retrieve letters from Berkowitz because they were in written communication. Maury claims Berkowitz told the cult that what the SOS symbol meant. I don't have that letter. I wish I did if it exists. I'll read you a few more things that I was able to dig up through the streets of Google. The Middle of Silence Gallery was a highly secretive and tight-knit collective. Unlike more commercial art galleries of the 70s, they functioned as an underground commune that intentionally de-emphasized individual names to focus on their collective political missions. The Underground Network. The gallery was part of a network of researchers and activists in the 1970s who believed that David Berkowitz did not act alone. So that wasn't included in any of the archival information that I shared with you on that video. But again, I went back to dig and I found that. Maury Terry, while not a member in the artistic sense, Terry frequently cited the findings and the protests of the Carmine Street Collective as evidence that the public was being misled by the official story of the crimes. The collective had strong ties to the counterculture, intellectual scene of Greenwich Village. Famous figures like Ed Sanders, the poet, activist, and founder of the Fugs, were active in the same scenes. So I'm not saying he was a part of this in any way. It was just mentioned when I was digging more. And I didn't ask anything about Ed Sanders. The Google search brought that up itself when I was asking questions. Okay, so let me just take this off and jump to my next piece. So what I thought I'd share with you is what Maury Terry wrote in The Ultimate Evil. And I am just going to take excerpts. And this is from the original version in 87. Just so you know, let's bring it up now. The chapter is The Most Unlikely Ally. The public and almost all the media were unaware of the backstage story that was developing. The New York City Police Department was ignorant of it, while the Queens District Attorney, who did know what was going on, was forced to view the events from the sidelines. It is appropriate to let Berkowitz himself introduce the players, as he wrote to Lee Chase. We, of course, know that that's D Channel, his self-appointed Christian counselor in a Western state. The following people are involved and working on this. Gilroy. So we've already talked about Felix Gilroy, Penchak from the AP, D.A. Santucci, Middle of Silence Gallery. So they are outright named. The sheriff in Minot, North Dakota, Maury Terry, and Mittiger, the authors of these stories. So I'm not going to read all this. I'm going to slide through to where the gallery is mentioned. The sheriff in Minot was Lieutenant Terry Gardner, and the Middle of Silence Gallery was a commune or association of artists and poets who literally believed in demonic possession. Before Berkowitz's arrest, MOS sent out press releases saying that Son of Sam was controlled by his demon familiar, Sam the Terrible, which they picked up from the Breslin letter. The gallery also offered mundane theories about the killer, a number of which were reasonable. After Mittiger was arrested, a group of MOS people who were gentle, sensitive throwbacks to the late 60s rode a bus to Jim's Staten Island home to ask him if any of the letters Berkowitz wrote them from Kings County Hospital were snatched by guard Herb Clark. The answer was no. So I'm not going to get too into that. We've already talked about Mittiger and Herb Clark. We're going to go down a little deeper, and I'll read this last sentence here and run through this paragraph. Okay. Since the Marcy meeting a year before, Marcy was Gilroy, where Maury Terry accompanied him. Berkowitz had pondered the case. Until that day, he didn't know that anyone was looking into the conspiracy. He had believed the case was shut down. After Marcy, he waited and watched. In July, after his throat was cut, he heard rumblings about the Moskowitz article we wrote. He didn't have the piece yet, but when he... Oh, that got cut. Sorry. I think I jumped there. That's okay. Please don't write to anyone about the case. The Queen's DA called the gallery and asked to see the letters you write them. They don't know what to do, and I said not to show them anything. Okay, so I missed something on this. I apologize, but that was, I believe, Bernice, his girlfriend. She reached out to the gallery and said, please don't show the DA any of the letters. Chase, D. Berkowitz then told Chase, why must she always panic? The district attorney from Queens tried to contact her. So why did she do, what did she do? She got hysterical and called the Middle of Silence Gallery and told them not to give the DA any of my letters. Too bad, because in it, I explained the meaning of the symbol. You know what I mean, the Son of Sam symbol. I mean, too, that I have been writing the gallery from time to time, and I really wouldn't mind if the DA peeked at some of them, the letters. Of course, Denise told them to hide the letters and not to cooperate. So, okay, I wasn't wrong. So it's both of them. Denise and Dee are telling the gallery, don't show the DA any of Berkowitz's letters. Berkowitz's mild disappointment with Gardner and his realization that Denise was upset were minute considerations compared with what would happen next. Serious trouble was waiting in the wings. So, okay, I think we could move on from that. Let's take that off the screen. So, and let me put the chat back on. Yeah, I agree. There's so many limbs or tentacles, and it doesn't really matter what you believe in this case. There's just so many side stories, and yeah, it would have totally taken it. One of the things that Berkowitz's lawyers were trying to do, I mean, besides make money off of him, initially when he was first arrested, they knew there was no chance of getting a fair trial. They were trying to change jurisdictions, but the case was so publicized, I don't even know that would have helped. All right, I'm going to go through one more quickie on the Middle of Silence. If you have any questions about the gallery, please put them in chat. I'm going to go through one more thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just going to go through some excerpts that might put it a little bit more into context. So I had basically put some notes together and then asked Google and consulted with Gemini on that leaflet. So, and we're jumping back now in thought. We're talking about the Don't Publish Berkowitz book. So, core arguments of the protest. The leaflet outlines several ethical and legal reasons why the book, titled Son of Sam, authored by Lawrence Klausner and published by McGraw-Hill, should be dropped. One was lack of authorization. Despite being marketed as authorized, the collective claims Berkowitz was never consulted and did not want the book published. We already know that. Exploitation by the lawyers. I really think this bothered Berkowitz so much. The text accuses Berkowitz's own legal team, specifically Leon Stern and Ira Joltek, and his conservator, Doris Johnson, of using his status as incompetent way to enrich themselves. Breach of confidentiality, we already talked about that. Remember, we also spoke on the Klausner video that he received tapes and transcripts from his psychiatrists. Public safety concerns, just real quick, he already mentioned copycat killers, and he also talked about the safety of his family, backlash from the public. What I found interesting, I don't want to repeat all this, But something I found interesting was this book deal is what sparked the law. And I do have on my Follow the Money series, which we started, a little bit about the Son of Sam law. And if you're familiar with it, case law with it, it has changed over the years. But the book deal really sparked it because they knew that there was money that was going to be made, right? The massive deal through McGraw-Hill, it included 250,000 advance, part that went to Klausner, part that went to the estate or the conservator for the estate. And it birthed the Son of Sam laws. And again, even though they've changed over the years, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I thought anyway. This talks a little bit about Berkowitz suing his another attorney in 2005. That was Hugo Hermatz, who stole his personal possessions to write his book. And Berkowitz actually won that lawsuit. So he had to give back, Hermatz had to give Berkowitz back his stuff and had to basically change his whole book. And it goes a little bit more into the cult, and I'll just read one or two highlights and then we'll move on. So the philosophy, they believe that artists had a moral responsibility to intervene in public life. The name Middle of Silence likely referred to breaking the public's silence or apathy towards social injustice and exploitation. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the video that I put out, I also read, and it's on my Cracklin' Rosie Facebook page, another leaflet that I found, which was kind of their credo, which talked about the issues with being in monogamous relationships. And it basically, put it in a really artistic and clean way that they all got together and had orgies, basically. So that cuts that in a nutshell. Let's see, anything else important on here? Not really. How about here? While the Middle of Silence Gallery eventually dissolved as the East Village and West Village art scene shifted in the 80s, they paved the way for later, more famous collectives like the Silence Equals Death Project, famous for the AIDS activism Pink Triangle. Both groups shared the core belief that silence in the face of crisis is a form of complicity. The Middle of Silence Gallery was highly secretive and a tight-knit collective. Unlike more commercial art galleries in the 70s, they functioned underground, the commune that intentionally de-emphasized individual names. So that tells you right there, it was very, very hard to find actual names other than the attorney and whoever was like whatever they would call their president perhaps. It was very hard to find a list of members, although somewhere I gathered that there was about 14 regular members. Hey, forensics. Oh, well, I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you feel better, dear. All right, we're going to move on from the cult. I found it interesting. It's, one of those things. I was surprised to be able to find it. And initially I thought that really their only communications was after the arrest. I wasn't 100% sure. I didn't remember that short passage. That was all. What I read you from Maury Terry's book was all that was mentioned of the gallery. So something else, and I think that I brought this up on the live, the last live, and we need to just jump in here. This is something I posted a while ago on my wall. Oh, no, I mentioned this in the comment section of the Abrahamson diagnosis video that I put out. what I had mentioned to you, and I just wanted to show you, I wasn't sure if it was the Esau Siriani scene, but it was. So what I had wrote here was interesting. Abrahamson offers public consult as early as April of 1977. And basically it was around the time where everybody was giving their, professional opinions of what they thought Berkowitz might be like, so on and so forth. But it was the Esau Siriani, and I'll give you a quickie of what he said. Dr. David Abramson, another expert, said the slayer harbors a volcano of emotion and feeling that he releases only rarely. Any person who kills fundamentally would like to kill himself first. The boy must be very sick. That was his big his big contribution. I'm sure that was what made the paper anyway. But yeah, we'll move on from there. Oh, there's the bigger one. Sorry. Let's see. I'm going to take a little sip of my drink here and check the chat. I bet, and have no idea actually, but I would bet they were involved in some illicit drug sales. Artists, secretive, lawyers, sounds like could be moving product. Well, it was the 70s, so I'm going to say that. It was Greenwich Village, so I'm going to say that. And it was a bunch of artists, writers, singers, dancers. I'm going to say that. I don't have proof of that. And they really didn't make the archives. He killed because he was like a volcano. Well, yeah, that was thanks, Dr. Abramson. Yeah, no, I read you. If you're not familiar with the credo of this Greenwich Village sex cult, even though they call themselves the Middle of Silence Gallery, I read the whole credo to you, and it was it was all sexy stuff. So whatever. Whatever they did. Those were the things that I was able to find. And I didn't read the, all my notes verbatim because it's just a little bit of repetitious stuff. I just thought it was interesting that I plugged in if there was any involvement with the Sylvanians, with the process, and the only reason why it came up anything with the process, it was because it brought up Maury Terry. That's how I read the notes. So it brought up Maury Terry, and then it brought up Ed Sanders, but it didn't show any other direct link. But what does? What does? We have to do our own digging. All right, how are we making out? Let me take that off for a minute and put my chat back on. Yeah, Berkowitz was like a volcano. Let me see what else I have in here for you. Okay, this I'm going to wait on a little bit. Oh, yeah. I meant to show this first, but I'm ass backwards, so whatever. Found this little doozy. Y'all know who this is? If I had to guesstimate, I'd say that it's at least a decade-old picture. Maybe less. Anybody know who that is? I'm going to give you a hint. We were talking about him. That's author Lawrence Klausner. And I don't think Ginger's in the chat, but hopefully she'll hear us on the replay. We were talking a little bit. And yeah, I found his kind of flyer sort of curriculum vitae. And yeah, he was a personal cruise consultant and shopper. And I think he did this more once he retired and moved down to Florida. He and his wife enjoyed cruising, and he probably found out that when you do those deals where you get You book 10 rooms for your friends and family and you get yours free. I'm guessing it might have been something like that, but I don't really know. That's full conjecture. So yeah, so this is Klausner. I don't know if it's his horse or what, but I just found that picture kind of cool and one that I hadn't seen before. All right, let's jump back here. Okay, new man, positive energy. I think David Berkowitz came in contact with a variety of random people. I feel he was looking for friends and perhaps he was easily influenced due to his loneliness. Sure. Yeah, I don't think that extreme uh isolation happened till the end because we've seen videos, Son of Sam videos, where his friends were interviewed, and they never described. They said David was a nice guy, that he was quirky, there was some eccentric things about him, but for the most part he was a nice guy, and he liked women. I believe it was John Comparetto that said he had some girlfriends. So I think it was towards, when he came out of the army and his friends had all moved on. And I think he was really hoping to reconnect with them and people. And it just didn't happen. And another thing, I didn't clip it, but it's definitely on my wall, and I posted it before. Some people kind of invalidate the relationship that he had with Iris Gerhardt, and I don't. I believe that maybe for her it was more of a youngin' crush, and the same for Berkowitz. He might have built it up bigger in his head than it was, but she remained friends with him. She definitely stayed in contact with him and remained friends with him. Now I know that, and I've showed this, but I didn't clip it. I'll probably put it back, bump it on my wall. I did find something that said finally after she had married, and I don't know why. Maybe her husband was not happy with her staying in contact with him. Maybe he started getting weird. I really don't know. But the last time that he called Iris, I guess the husband picked up the phone and said she wasn't available or wasn't home. And she never called him back after that. And according to the resource, and again, I'll bump that on my wall, the shootings, this was April of 77. Okay. She didn't call him back. They stopped contact. And then he goes out and he starts shooting, under 2 months later, right? April of 1977. And I think that really, was it the cause? No, nothing, no one thing was the cause. I really stress that there was no one thing. Everyone wants to say it was one thing. There's no one thing. There were many, many things, many factors. It was factor upon factor what finally, I think, made him snap. And it doesn't matter whether you believe he did the shootings alone or whether he worked with others. You still have to be in a certain state of mind to go out and just shoot people for no reason. Self-defense is one thing, but to just shoot people for no reason, there's something wrong there. All right, let me take a sip here. If you have any questions, put them in chat. And I'm just gonna shuffle through what I had here with you on screen. So yeah, that was Klausner and his horse. I'm going to go through that later. I'm going to start a little discussion on prints. So, actually, I don't need this on yet. Sorry. So we know a lot has gone back and forth with fingerprints before Berkowitz's arrest, that there was some trace prints on letters. Wasn't enough to make any connections, but there were actually a few solid prints. There was the big argument, going back some time that, well, he was in the service, he worked for the post office, blah, 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 with the fingerprints. There was not a system back then where they could just put these prints in and rule out anybody or someone coming up on the database. That didn't exist. They were looked at independently. And yes, it was brought up that there were other police fingerprints on the letter, but all of those officers that were at the scene were printed so that they could rule those out. So that's just a start on that. But this was interesting, and I didn't clip it because YouTube is very, very sensitive lately, and they strike you at the drop of a dime. But on this short documentary, How the Son of Sam Changed New York Forever, Gardella is featured on it, as well as Justus. Oops, wrong way. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have it on. Now I need to bring it back. Oopsie. Okay, there you go. Here's Gardella. How the Son of Sam Changed New York. And I went the wrong way. And I'm just going to read you. I did a transcript. Welcome back, Nutty. I did a transcript in lieu of, putting the clip and getting struck for it. So this was Gardella speaking. On April 17th, 1977, Valentina Siriani and Alexander Esau at 3 a.m. in the morning were parked in a car when the assailant came up to the car, put his hand on the hood, and fired through the windows, killing both of them. He then left a note at the scene. So I didn't know, and this was not reported to the newspaper. In one archive, I found that they had a palm print, but that it was from the letter. So there was actually a nice palm print left on the hood of Alexander's car. The print on the hood of the car was of value. So it was possible that it was the killer's print, and it was not given out to the press that we had that print. But after that, when people were arrested, we also took palm prints. Previous to that, we only took fingerprints. So it also started a new precedence where instead of just doing fingerprints on people when they're arrested, they take their palm prints as well. So yeah, there was a palm print on the hood of the car at the Siriani Esau scene. All right, let's get out of that. Sorry, guys, I'm moving a little slow because instead of drinking my coffee, I'm drinking water. So I'm going to take a nice swig of this while I take a look at what's going on. Hey, book. CODIS began in the 90s, I believe. Fingerprint databases were very primitive at that time. Yeah, and you could see in some of the, the coverage that was done, you literally see the cops with like two of those, what do they call them, a monocle? And they're looking at fingerprints. I don't know if that was just for a press pick, but yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was saying that earlier, book. They were done manually. So if he didn't have a prior record, how are they supposed to know that the person going around shooting people, even if they did start going through military fingerprints, it's not like they're going to have something like that overnight. Okay. Forensics. You mean combined DNA index system, CODIS? All right. I look like that was a question for book club. All right. How we doing here? All right. So what I'm going to do is, that was pretty much my point on that. I have a few other things that I'm going to show you, but I'm going to jump for a moment and share this screen instead. Y'all recognize that? And why don't we just scan through here and have a little fun with the Son of Sam timeline. I'll try to stay on topic, kind of, sort of, unless someone has something that they might have a question on or want to see. Oh, is the lube? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Nutty. What did I call it? A monocle? I don't know. What the hell? All right. I want to go to right here. This is on the CRTC Son of Sam timeline on the teenage years, Co-op City, Bronx, New York. That's right. Okay. And I want to go to Co-op City Friends since we mentioned his friends before. And I'm not going to read archives or anything like that. But there was something here from Reporter Dispatch. There was a question asked about the fire in the barracks. And according to what has come out, there was no record on Berkowitz in the military records, Berkowitz's military records. There was no reporting of burning down barracks. So where do we get that from? Okay, if you remember, Grossman interviewed Comparetto, and Comparetto said it on his show, or no? Let's back it out. I believe Comparetto said it on his interview with the Queens DA. Yeah, I think that that's right. Well, over here, Reporter Dispatch, and I have a little excerpt here. It says, Berkowitz said his friend Jeff, so Jeff is talking, Berkowitz said his friend Jeff, also wrote a letter while stationed in Korea claiming he had deliberately set fire to the barracks. And that was the same thing that Comparetto said. So I believe that they were being honest, that Berkowitz might have wrote that, but it says it was when he was stationed in Korea. So who knows? Who knows if that's true or not? All I'm saying is that it was not represented in his military records. So that's where that came from. Let's see what else is on here. Lenny Dapolito. Yeah, let's talk about the military for a moment. I think that the press overplayed that. Initially, because of everything that I read, I was influenced just like everyone else. I don't believe Berkowitz did as much LSD as the press claimed that he did. He said he did it. He said he did it a few times, and then he didn't. He stopped liking it, and he stopped. So I don't think he had as much of an issue as it's said in terms of drugs. And most of the people said he barely drank. Like when he drank, he had a beer or two or whatever, that he wasn't a big drinker. He liked to smoke pot. So, at his age, in his early 20s, I mean, I think most people drank then, most people smoked pot, and some people dropped acid and, did that kind of thing. But I think that was a big media play up. But I will say, so now I have to flip the coin. If he did have some kind of high functioning paranoia, hallucinogenics might not help, right? Especially if you're dark. See, hallucinogenics are nice when you're happy and you're in a nice mood and you have a nice trip. When you're dark in the brain and things aren't going so good, usually those trips don't end up that well. So I'll throw that in, but I definitely think that was completely overplayed. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna do a little overplayed or was created a public relations like narrative. They, because his friends all said that he seemed normal in his teens and he was a nice guy and all that, everyone just assumed that something happened in the service. So, and I'm not going to lie, I always thought something happened in the service too. Back in the old days, I was more on the MK Ultra train, and I also thought maybe something bad SA style happened to him that he wasn't happy with. I don't know. I'm starting not to think so much that it was that. It was all that. It was like I said earlier. It was several things. It wasn't one thing. It wasn't, oh, he went into the service, he did nothing but LSD, and he came out a raving lunatic and started murdering people. I don't believe that. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Oops, lost audio right when you said LSD. I lost audio? Can you all hear me now? Are you kidding me? I've been rambling. Maybe it was you, forensics. We'll have to go through. We're not going to do that tonight, but we'll have to go through. Let me not talk too much about what I'm going to go through. There was one thing I wanted to show on here. Oh, yeah, I'm such a dopey. Yeah, I've got the clip right here. I can't play it because it's from. Oh, no, I can. It's the Queen's DA on the barracks. But y'all trust me. I know y'all remember that. Let's go here. And this is kind of a nice slide that I like. The Co-op City Auxiliary Fire Club. So people get a little bit mistaken with, oh, you have been good audio. Oh, okay. Otherwise, so I just, okay. All right. So it must have been forensics that got cut off. Yeah, don't make me paranoid, forensics. All right. Star Tribune, August 14th, 77. His high school years were undistinguished scholastically, though he was said to have enjoyed and excelled in gymnasium classes and in baseball. So we know that. We've seen pictures of him, and we've heard that Berkowitz was a really good baseball player. In 69, while he was still in high school, he and his father moved to Co-op City, a large development in the northeastern Bronx. There they lived in a 4.5-room apartment. Bruce Handler, who lived on the floor below, recalled that he and David and 2 other youths organized a volunteer fire company in Co-op City in 1970, when the fire department had no on-site facility. The youths put out brush fires and turned in alarms, occasionally helping at the scene of apartment fires before regular firemen arrived. He was dedicated, Handler said. Once in 1970, he ran up 16 flights because he thought someone was still up there during a fire. He liked uniforms. During this time, Berkowitz often said he wanted to be a fireman, Handler said. In October 1970, Berkowitz joined an auxiliary police unit as a trainee, and he accompanied members on unarmed patrols in his neighborhood. So, yeah, so sometimes people get that a little bit mixed up. There was the fire club, and then he was an auxiliary trainee. And if you look in the People versus Berkowitz site where they show his auxiliary records, it shows that he was a member for like 3 years, but he went into the service. So they probably just left it open thinking maybe he would come back, or he was kind of like on a leave from it, I would guess. But yeah. So let's go back to oh, I know what I wanted to show you all. Okay, so we're gonna get out of that, and I'm gonna come back. Where's my main timeline? Okay, let me share this instead. I'm back, and I'm gonna go down and just humor me. How about that? Humor me. There's been so much hoopla about freaking jacket. So I just want to show you something, and you tell me, because I'm the last one that claims that I know everything. Trust me. All right, we're going to go to arrest files. And I'm just for a moment, we're definitely not going to go through them, but I'm going to go to the Berkowitz apartment and automobile photos. I want to show you something, and I want to get your opinion in chat. Okay, we're going to go down. Let me see if it tells me what page. I thought it was 29. Breslin's book, New Star. Did I pass up the? No, it must be down further. Sorry. Okay, got it. Now I'm gonna take myself off, and I'm gonna try to zoom this in. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try. Okay. Thank you, Patrick. I love it too. Okay. So this is obviously the trunk of Berkowitz's car, right? This is a spare. When you look, come on, man, don't fuck with me. This over here, originally, like this looks like something vinyl, like one of those tarps, and he liked to have stuff in his car to help people. And when you look at this, initially I thought it was a blanket, okay? But when I zoom in, there's a zipper here. I don't know if y'all could see it. I wish, why aren't you seeing my cursor? There is a zipper, like over here is like a pocket, maybe with like a tissue or something in it. And there's a zipper. Just give me your opinion. Does that look like a Parker, or could that be like, it almost looks like it could be the inside. I had like an MCJ, one of those motorcycle jackets, like a leather jacket, and the inside kind of looked like that. And it had inside pockets. It had like a gun pocket and whatever you could put your wallet or whatever people put in. Let me go up now. And then again, this is the tarp. Looks like a coat when you zoom in. Yeah, it could go for like a Parker, or it could be the inside of a jacket. But look, let me zoom in over here. I don't know if y'all could see this. I hate that you're not seeing my freaking mouse. I thought you could see it, but whatever. There is like a snap. If you look right in the center here, let me go. There's like a snap. And it looks like a cuff, like a wrist cuff. I don't know. What's your opinion? Anybody? Does it look like a jacket? I know there's no way Berkowitz could have had a leather jacket, but this sure looks like a jacket. Or there's definitely a zipper and there's a snap. Who knows? But he was a little wild. Maybe it was some kind of sleeping bag. I don't know. I don't know. I happen to be looking at that. I figured I'd get your opinion. Forensic says outdoor gear for hunters. It could have been adapted by a tailor, like rain. P. Thomas says like rainwear. Yeah, it could be. I mean, he used to do a lot of weird shit. It could even be, like I said, a sleeping bag. I believe he had a moving blanket and clothes that were vouchered from the car. Okay, so I did scan the vouchers, okay? And a lot of stuff, not just from the car, but from the apartment, was like abbreviated, like dungarees. They put like DUNGR. Okay. And I did find on one of the vouchers, it said Black Jack. Now, does that mean it was in the car? Was it a real jack, like a jack to change a tire? Or was it like an abbreviation for a black jacket? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I just happened to see this, and I don't know why I was looking in Berkowitz's trunk. What's up, Stu? Doesn't sleep. Good to see you. Yeah, like I said, I have no idea why I was kind of just going through here, but yeah, that appeared to be blackjack is a weapon. Okay, well, like a crowbar? I saw a snap and I saw what appeared to be a tissue and I saw a zipper. And I'm like, okay, I'll get an opinion. I definitely could be wrong, but I'll get an opinion, whatever. All right. All right, so enough of that. Let's go back. I have so many windows open, so just give me a moment while I close some. So blackjack is a weapon. Okay, well, that clarifies. Oh, okay. Like a mini billy club. Yeah, I have one of those in one of my cars, but we call it a shark bat because you know, in case you got to like give a shark a nose bop. Okay, mini billy club. Thanks, P. All right, let's jump back to forensics. Let me shut this. Anyway, I just, like I said, it was just something I noticed, and that's what it is. But let's see, forensic. I used a wide variety of gear and clothing when I lived in the Yukon. Yeah, I bet. When you live in the bush, you're always, yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I used to be a big camper, so that's why I thought maybe it was a sleeping bag, because I know he used to go rock climbing and all that stuff, but I don't know how much of that he actually did in the time shortly before the crimes. I mean, I have him saying, him being Berkowitz, I have him saying that he thought it would be fun. Like, he originally bought the long guns because he thought it would be fun to rekindle with his friends and go hunting, go rock climbing, do those things. Unfortunately, yeah, that didn't work out that way. But all right, give me a moment while I just close up. David went hiking, they said. Yeah, he went hunting too. He might have had military. He might have had from auxiliary days. Yeah. 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 All right, so we'll shut that one down. We'll shut that one down and we'll share another screen. Let's go back into the main timeline. And let me just share my screen. Oops, wrong one. Here we go. Share. Okay. All right, it's back on. Let's take a look at something fun. We're going to take a look at some side stories because really, that's kind of all it's about now. Wherever you are, whatever side of the fence you're on, everybody, is just kind of wash, rinsing, and repeating. And I guess I'm kind of doing the same thing. But yeah, I enjoy spending time with you guys. So we're going to go into a little. This is a link. And let me shut this because there we go. Media frenzy on the SOS side streets. So there were a lot of little tentacles, aren't there? There's a lot of side stories. Yes, timeline, nutty. And these were things that could be misrepresented by the press, but I found interesting anyway, and I had a little bit of collection of them and decided to just make an interesting side story link. So on June 27th, 77, Son of Sam strikes again. Police are hunting for a man calling himself Son of Sam, suspected of 5 murders in the last 11 months, and the wounding yesterday of a couple shot as they sat in a parked car in New York. Judy Placido and her boyfriend, Sam Lupo, were found with gunshot wounds. Their condition was later described as fair. This is what I highlighted. Shortly before the attack, police were told by Son of Sam in a telephone call in which area he would strike, just as he had done before the 5 previous murders, all of young people. So I kind of read that like, wait, what? He called and said where he was going to be. Again, this could be misconstrued by the media, but I just found that interesting because they got it from somewhere. Shortly before the attack, police were told by Son of Sam in a telephone call in which area he would strike, just as he had done before the 5 previous murders, all of young people. They almost want to make it sound like he called before all of the crimes and kind of gave a heads up to police. So, I mean, I don't believe that, but could it have happened 1 or 2 times? Possibly. What do we got going on here? I'm here for the content and history and education and company. Thank you. Same here. Ditto. Ditto. Okay, this is kind of interesting. July 1st, 1997, Son of Sam suspect beaten. I'm going to go with this shorter one for you. All right, Journal News, July 2nd, 44 caliber killer hunters arrested. Oh, okay, they go together. Sorry. 2 men have been arrested on assault and kidnap charges in connection with the beating of a Mount Vernon man they claimed was the Son of Sam, the 44 killer who has killed 5 people in New York City. Mount Vernon police said this morning Queens homicide detectives investigating the murders were called to Mount Vernon, but decided the beating victim definitely is not the killer. As police recount the case, a man went to Mount Vernon Police Headquarters Thursday about 10 p.m., claiming he and a companion caught the Son of Sam. Mount Vernon detectives James Garcia and Nicholas La Sorza accompanied the informant, identified as Anthony Cascignano, 30, and they give the address, blah, 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 and Jeffrey DiPaolo of the Bronx. They identified the victim as Anthony Segno, 24. He was bruised on the face and body, scratched on the neck. He was taken to Mount Vernon Hospital, where he was reported in fair condition. Segno told police he was walking near 645 North McQuestion Parkway about 6 p.m. Thursday when Kashinango, whom he knew slightly, called him over to the car. Then Segno said Kashinango, who was in the driver's seat, said, "You're the son of Sam," and pulled him into the car. Segno claimed he was taken to Holy Sepulchre Cemetery in New Rochelle, where near his father's grave he was told, "You're the son of Sam, you're going to die here." So I guess these guys eventually, I'm not going to read all of this, but they got arrested. So I found that interesting. The effect SOS had on Rupert Murdoch's bottom line could almost, Rupert Murdoch did make money from the SOS case. He was Maury's boss at the time. Yeah, the media frenzy was unreal. Anyway, I had a bunch of those. Bunch of articles on Anthony Segno. All right, calling the mob. Again, these are side stories, right? They're kind of like just interesting, but somewhat Mafia joins the Mad Hunt. The Godfather AIDS hunt for son of Sam. The Mafia's new godfather, Carmine Gelante, 67, is reported to have told 5,000 soldiers at New York's 5 organized crime families to find son of Sam, the psychopathic killer whose 13th woman victim died on Monday night. He, who has 4 daughters by his 2 wives, has a vested interest in finding the gunman. Son of Sam reign of terror has had a depressing effect on young people's places of entertainment, such as discotheques and late-night bars, to whose economic health the mafia is particularly attentive. So that's him. This was something I posted a long time ago. Although police said son of Sam was not believed to have known any of his victims, records show Berkowitz, Jody Valenti, and Christine Freund attended Bronx Community College at the same time. Miss Valenti was wounded by son of Sam. Miss Freund was killed in one of the attacks. And I had put coincidence or misreported, and someone was like, "Yeah, there's no way that Freund would have gone to school in the Bronx." But I found this, and this is Maury's ultimate evil. In 1972, Chris was hired by the Wall Street firm of Rental Security and currently worked out of its office at 2 Broadway in the heart of the financial district. And for a short time, she had taken courses at Lehman College in the Bronx. So she actually was. And it was just, those things. Was it a coinky dink or was it misreported? But I guess they all at one time attended the community college there. So interesting. Let me see if there's anything on here highlighted. Oh, this is about the mustard-colored car leaving the scene of the Placido Lupo. Okay, this one. I'm just going to read what's highlighted. She's a snob. Vito Napolitano, a friend of Sal's, said yesterday, "This guy was definitely in Eliphas 5 minutes before the shooting." Napolitano said Berkowitz had talked to a girl, then turned and said aloud to a few people, "That girl is a snob." I don't know. I think, with this case, it was so hyper meteorized that everyone was just jumping on the bandwagon. I think people were just telling a lot of stories too. So I don't really know. Just something I found interesting. Interesting take. And I did a short on this one. In regards to this sketch, New York Post excerpt. His looks are very important. That final police sketch, the one he resembles least, was drawn with the advice of dozens of white middle class who were recalling a brief encounter with the ultimate nightmare. Subtly, certainly not consciously, I'm sure, these white middle class people created a face that was not like theirs. It was the face of a lean and mean non-Caucasian man. It was a face evolved from racism, not from reality. They had described the eyes and the sensuous lips accurately enough. So how else can you explain how different was the very essence of the face? And now we are told that the face belongs to David Berkowitz. We can get back to work now, says a police general, rubbing his hands, and a colonel chuckles. The girls can let their hair down. So it's like they're saying that there was bias in the creation of the sketch. And I will say, Cecilia Davis actually said that she was unhappy with her sketch because they made the assailant look too Hispanic, and that wasn't the way she saw him. So just goes to show you how things get mumbled jumbled in the press. Okay, let me take another sip here. Now I'll have some water. New man, positive energy. Is it possible that David might have stalked some of his victims? Well, he did. He did. I don't know that he was in the Elephas that night, but he did stalk victims. More narrative building. Oh, yeah, I'll share that with you, Nutty. First the LSD, then the woman hating. Yeah. I think he had his insecurities. I don't really believe. I think he loved women. I don't know. Let's see. Let's not forget that Rupert Murdoch's marketing executive was a lady named Estelle Myers. She was Australian and a Process Church member. Oh. Do we have a guest?
Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
Hey, how are you?
What's going on?
Nothing much. I'm going through side stories.
Yeah, I noticed that. I kind of, I was, watching this. I was hoping
You came
Ginger
up
was going
to
to be here.
save me?
No, I was hoping Ginger was going to be here. And, when you brought up the voucher stuff, I actually have some notes on the vouchers I could share if you want to do it.
Yeah. Did you want to, in regards to what with the vouchers? Are you talking about like from the apartment, from the car, like what I was talking about?
Just about everything, because after 2 weeks ago, Ginger was in the comments a lot, and she was saying a lot of stuff. She brings up a lot of stuff, and it's like, I know she's always been big on the apartments from when I used to be in the group and everything like that. And we went back and forth with a couple of things, but then she really got me thinking, so I actually had to go back and look at some stuff. So yeah, based on the evidence and, the car, she had questions about the car and stuff like that. But then when you brought up the jacket, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on with the jacket and the army jacket and all this stuff, things that I have heard and stuff like that. So
okay. Well, I'm on the arrest slide. So what I can do is I could bring up. You don't want to look at the pictures. You want to look at the actual.
No. Look at
paperwork.
Where was it? The vouchers. You have the vouchers?
Of course I do.
All right. Don't want to keep people too long either. I know I'm
no.
a little drawn out.
Yeah. No, you're right. I appreciate you coming and saving me, because I went on a tangent with that middle of Silence Gallery. That's got me. I can't tell you. It's
I was thinking about that though. Are they in the subsequent editions? Because you know how the OTO was kind of taken out of after the first edition because he lost the lawsuit? It'd be interesting to go back and look at some of the newer editions.
That's
If
a good
that,
question. Good
yeah,
point, Book, because
whatever.
I looked on my original edition. I will go back. I have like PDF copies of other versions. So I
Right.
will go look. Now they were relatively small, but they did have an attorney, but that's a good point. I will look into that. All right. So you want to go to the seized evidence, the warrants?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So again, with that, and so many questions she brought up that were good. They're great questions. I mean, I know she's going to die on the conspiracy hill, but that's fine. Now, right here, you could go. No, stay where you are. Stay where you are. So basically, now go all the way to the top. Go all the way to the top. Back down. Back down.
Before you go
Start
on,
at the beginning. Start at the beginning of that link.
gotcha. Before you continue, I have a question for you, please.
Yeah.
I know that I took these from the People versus David Berkowitz site, correct? But
Yeah, I believe that's where they come from.
that's where I got them from. I know that's where I got them from. But
Right.
were these part of the package that Neo had with the Yonkers reports?
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
I got possession of those after.
Okay.
Whatever happened with that, it got leaked. It wasn't supposed to get leaked. I mean, he did his best in trying to share stuff, but other stuff got shared that other people don't
No,
even want to get into that.
no. I was only
I'm assuming from what I have heard recently that he was the one that brought all of these
that's fine.
Yonkers reports.
That's
Because
why
you notice they're not redacted as the ones that were allegedly FOIA'd by the NYPD, the NYPD reports. They're all redacted, but I've seen different some of the same reports come out and they're redacted differently depending on who's showing it and said
that's
they
fine.
got it
Yeah,
for you.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
okay.
I didn't mean for you to go on a tangent with that. I was
Yeah. Don't get me
asking
started.
because I got them from the website, but if they
Yes.
were from Neo's
But
package,
let's bow. Let's bow. This is not stolen. We will bow.
I
Okay.
just wanted to make mention. So
Yeah.
if they came from that, I wanted to make mention.
But give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely. Let's continue.
All right. So right here is the Yonkers report. So all that stuff there, has nothing to do with the crime. That's personal property. So
Correct.
again, so the apartments in Yonkers, they took possession of that. They have it for safekeeping.
Yeah.
Go down. And again, all this stuff you can find on the website. It's not as
Right.
organized as this, but all right. So keep moving.
Yeah, that stuff Nathan and Joltak went to Yonkers and picked
Yeah,
up.
that shows in the next report.
So you don't need to read that,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
Okay.
Don't
I
even want to read it.
I summarized it in one sentence.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty
And
much so. And this says it. It says it. And the I think it's the next one. All right. Stop there.
it is right here.
Right. So now you see here at the end, stop. Go down. You passed what I wanted. Nope. Up. Down. Other way. Back to that Yonkers thing.
This is with the Joltak. Are you maybe you're
No,
seeing
can you go,
what
go
page?
the direction you're going in? Keep going. Stop. Right? No, go down. The other way. Stop.
Warrants
What?
unsigned, unredacted.
Keep going. Right there. Never mind. I guess there's a delay or something.
There must be a delay. If you tell me what page that you're looking for, are you looking at the timeline as well?
Yeah, I'm looking at the screen of what you're doing. I need you to go up from where you are.
After the search warrant page?
No, before.
Okay, we
Maybe
did.
page 3 or page 4. Right there, right there, right there. Yeah.
Dated August 26, 77. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, that's it. That's it. There seems
Okay.
to be some sort of delay. Okay. So it says there, if you see like the second to last paragraph, it should be noticed that that prior to entering the apartment, the door was secured by a lock and evidence tape, and all windows were secured by a lock. I found that funny because Ginger brought up the the reporters, and now all of a sudden it has that. This is probably after now the reporters got in. So of course they had to put those locks on there. And then at the end it says further that at the above time, the Yonkers Police Department was released from any security at apartment. So at that point, they give over the keys to Nat. He's got a carpenter with them, whatever the
Correct.
hell they're going to do. But I found that funny with the reporters going in, like that
Right.
meant something, whatever it was. So not a big deal. Now I think you go to the warrant, and we had sort of discussed that.
Are you still on delay? I'm on County of Westchester,
Yeah,
City of Yonkers, the applicant for a search warrant for the persons of David
I'm on.
Berkowitz.
I'm on a little bit of delay right there. You could stop. You
Oh,
did. You'll see the thing with the palm and the fingerprints.
yeah.
Yeah. So again, Ginger we had gotten into this discussion, and she says, "Oh, they didn't look in the garbage." Well, even if they did look in the garbage, it really doesn't make too much of a difference if they found in there. I don't think they're going to vouch for banana peels, but it said something. Oh, did they dust for fingerprints? And I went with a comment and said, "Oh, why they don't need to place Berkowitz in the apartment. He lives there, but when you had mentioned what you had showed before with the palm print found at the Suriani Esau shooting.
Yes.
So now this sort of makes sense. And that's why, like I said, I've looked at these reports so many times, but you pick up so much more after you start learning stuff from newspaper articles, interviews, YouTube videos, what people say, kind of jogs your memory. So again, to go back to that Suriani Esau reports on the website, if you go there, they're in total perfectly order. That's the way that case file, in my opinion, is the most complete. It has indexes, things are put in a certain order. It's really good. And when you start going through from the beginning, you'll see that a lot of these DD5s or Detective Division 5s are written to the point where they have officers' names, and they're basically putting that, they have their fingerprints on file. They're going to use those as elimination prints. Because like, as we established before with CODIS, and, you can just do a quick Google search and find out the exact name. And I think it was a pilot program for 14 states in 1990. So again, in 1977, we didn't have all of this stuff. But so they had to eliminate everyone. Like, I don't know, no one's wearing latex gloves at that time, too, at a crime scene. Again,
Right.
procedures change, right? The procedures that I know of probably are a lot different from what they were 20 years after Berkowitz was arrested. That goes with the vouchering too. So there's a lot of things that come into play. And the more and more I looked at the vouchers, I got really frustrated, especially the NYPD reports, because so many things were left out. And, you really can't get a good read as to what's happening. Now, with those vouchers, we got an additional 4 vouchers, right, from Manny a couple of months ago. And I
Right.
think you inserted them in. And of the 4, one was a missing voucher that took place. And it sort of cleared things up for me. And then the other 3 were a little bit different. So if you could go to the NYPD vouchers now, I have notes on them. So whatever it is, if people find it boring, it's fine. And then I'll get into like the jacket and all that stuff too.
Okay. Okay. So get out of here then.
No, we're
Or
keep
are they
keep.
the NYPD ones are on the bottom?
Yep, yep. Just keep going.
All right, remember you're on delay, so just chill out.
Yep. It's hard to chill out when I hear a lot of stupidity, and not from you. And those are the vouchers executed and signed again. We all know the story about the warrant.
Here we
Uh,
go.
right.
NYPD, they're a little bit like smudgy looking. So
Yeah.
they're a little hard to read. Did you want to start right at the top, or were you looking at
Yeah, yeah,
something
right at the top,
specific?
right at the top.
All right, let me
So,
just no. I
so
did
I'll
this.
tell you the notes of what I have.
Yeah,
All
just
right.
go through your notes because
All
that'll
right.
probably be more interesting for people. So
Well,
these,
yeah, I'll
why
give
don't you
this.
tell them what they are for those that maybe don't know? Just
All
these are
right. These are NYPD vouchers for property that's seized. Um, there's a whole bunch of different rules and regulations that go with them. And if you can see, like one of the things that really annoys me, and this is Zigo's sloppy. Filatico, the one voucher that Filatico has, he does it good, but you're supposed to check off. You see at the top where it says arrest evidence, investigatory evidence,
yes,
descendants property. You're supposed to put an X there. And these used to be typed, right? Even when I began my career, it was typing. And if you screwed up, it was a whole big deal. You had to void the voucher. All these voucher numbers had to be kept in a log. And it was a real pain in the neck. But anyway, that first voucher is vouchered, and that whole series, that A153 series, they're all vouchered on the day of the arrest, August 11th. I believe that first one there is from the car. Okay, just from and you can see that you got the duffel bag in there, and you have the different, what is that? The commando rifle that was there, and
right.
whatever it is. So I believe that stuff there was the guns. Now, again, with vouchering, guns have to be vouchered separate. Then drugs have to be vouchered separate. Money has to be vouchered separate. Depending on if the money has to go to the bank, it has to be put in a certain bag. If it's for evidence, it has to.
If the money actually gets turned in, yeah.
Right, you're right. Again, you have that. It has to be stamped. Sure, road cops all over this case, right? If you want to listen to some people, but anyway, there's a whole bunch. I'm not even going to bore you with it, but so basically, from what I see there, from that first, it looks like those were the weapons found in the car. And again, stating back to that interview that you showed with Gardella, I think it's called True Crime Uncut. There's two of them that come out in the last couple of months. Gardella is very telling in how he tells the story. And what people have to realize, because in that interview, I think Ginger uses that for something with the parking tickets as well, which is explainable too, just based from cop culture. But he says, and I don't know how highly edited it is, but he says, when we got to the block in the afternoon and we looked in the car and we saw what believed to be a submachine gun. So again, believed to be, typical wording. People get caught up on wording, but they use that to get the warrant. Now, what people don't realize is if there was a trial, that would have to go to be evidence. It would have to go what's called a map hearing, which is based on evidence like seized property.
Right.
Okay, so now whether or not that's going to get admitted into evidence, you got to go sit at a hearing. And again, in the Bronx, you got people just sitting there. They're not even paying attention to what you're saying, jury of the peers or whatever, your grand jury or your, whoever's at the hearing to listen to this stuff. It all gets determined whether or not it's good. So, I believe what a lot of people said. Zigo did what he did, what anybody would have did. I think I would have did too. Do I believe what Zigo did? He might have pressed his luck a little bit. You have to be able to articulate why you did what you did. and see if it would pass. So if you're going to say you saw something that believed to be a submachine gun, and you're in a residential neighborhood, right? We've seen what Pine Street looks like. And allegedly that little side window, the windbreaker, they used to call it or whatever, window,
The
was unlocked.
triangle.
Yeah, was
Yeah.
unlocked. So you would have to articulate, well, there's kids in that neighborhood, and if they looked in that car while they were playing stickball and they saw that, they could have reached in and got that gun, and it would have been, we did this to save lives or whatever. So you have to articulate what you did. You have to have.
Honestly, at this point, at that time, that it wouldn't have made a difference. They would have
Berkowitz was guilty before he was arrested. Whoever they brought up would have been guilty no matter what. He wouldn't have got a fair trial. All that evidence would have been allowed. He would have had a Hunley hearing for his confession to see if it was coerced. If you go back and you read all of that stuff through, they lay everything out to him. Each district attorney that comes in, at that point they knew they had him, and now whatever he was telling them in the car and all that other stuff. Once they sit down and they got the stenographer there and it's being taped or whatever, you're gonna cross all your T's, dot all your I's, and he basically admits to everything.
Yep. Anything else you want to see on these vouchers?
No. So now you go down again. The rest of those vouchers, for the most part, looks like it's all in stuff from the apartment. All right. And you're talking about, it looks like guns. I have guns down for a lot of them, weapons, like you said, things of that nature. And there's also paperwork. All of this stuff is vouchered by Zigo. Okay. So if you go down all the way to A153148.
153148.
Yeah, that you found. So I believe that's the 44. If you look at the voucher,
it is clear plastic bag containing 44 caliber yellow metal.
Yeah, and it has a serial.
Yeah.
You see the serial number over there? It says like 12927.
Yes.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. Notice he doesn't check off anything, right? Whether it's arrest evidence, that would be arrest evidence.
Right.
It should be checked off. Now, if you move up a little bit, you go to the bottom of that voucher. See, it says the above is a complete listing of property removed.
Correct.
Right. And then usually there's another little section down the bottom. You're supposed to put again, like I'm saying this 20 years after the fact. We would always put down the envelope number that it was vouchered in, removed from wherever they got it. And, that's the whole thing with that gun too. Like, he walks out with it. Okay. That's the gun in question, right? That's the ballistics matches.
Right.
He walks out, as it said, with that in a bag. So that's on his person, right? So it's a bag, you touch it, feels to be a firearm, it's good, it's a good search or whatever. But didn't we read something too where they got him back in Yonkers and where's the gun? Oh, I left it on
It was in the car. That's correct. That's correct.
Right, like he put it down there. So they had to go back and get that. So again, now if that would have come out, could you have fought that and all that other stuff? Getting into the legal mumbo jumbo of it. But anyway, again, this is the key piece of evidence, and there's nothing saying anything on the voucher. Like at the bottom for the disposition, you should have more information, but
yeah,
you'll see where that's going to come in a little weird too. So the next series of vouchers is the A083 98.
Yeah.
And for the most part, most of those are vouchered by, there's a guy, it starts with an A Zudin or something like that. John Zudin.
John Osterin.
Yeah, whatever it is. And he's with CSU, crime scene. So again, if you're looking at this stuff, this is all stuff from the apartment, which makes sense. Now crime scene's going to the crime scene unit's going to also process the apartment and take other stuff that may be, you know, vital to the case. So they're taking clothes, you could see, you know,
Hey, Paul.
right. Let's see what else they have. Let's see what my notes have. You know, a lot of folders and paper. And
I have a picture of that on my wall, Paul, that when they showed that at One Police Plaza, they had all of the guns out on the table. They also had the knife.
oh, Paul's here. That's good, Paul, because yeah, I found there is the voucher number where that knife is from. We'd have to go back up, Ro. It's 153146.
Give me a second. 146.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
So I think you see the knife because when you wrote that on your wall, I put that in there.
Here, it says it's like the third item, a clear plastic bag, blah, blah, blah. And then like the third one.
Black handled knife, right?
Yep, with taped handle.
Okay. And Paul had the serial number of the knife. They put that there, which again, you should, when possible, when vouchering, you should always use the serial numbers and whatnot.
Sure,
If you have a gun, right, with a defaced serial number, you put a lead seal on it. If you get a cap gun, that's fake. You still have to voucher it the way you would voucher it a firearm, even though you know it's fake. You have to send it to the lab for testing, and that also gets a lead seal. So there's all these different, you know, policies and procedures that I know, but again, I don't want to apply them to what was going on in the 70s, but I'm pretty sure that they were around then. But anyway, that knife does play into it because, all right. So if you go back to the other stuff, most of those series, it's the A083. They're all vouchered by that guy with the A, Anderson or whatever it is, except for
Austerin.
Right. If you go to 989.
989.
989. That's vouchered by a Sergeant Dunn from the lab. And again, it's folders and papers. Not that it makes a difference, but again, that's just another person vouchering. Okay. William Dunn, he's a sergeant. Now, what I noticed, one of the missing vouchers, one of the new vouchers that was provided by Manny was A083988.
9888.
Yeah, is it 988 or 988?
So it'd be one up.
Yeah, that was one of the newer vouchers. And that was something that was missing because if you go to 987 and you go to the bottom, they cross-reference it to the 989 voucher that was done by Dunn. But then 998, 991, and 992, I think there's something like 34 items, and they all kind of fall in place. And that one voucher, you know, it's just like a missing piece. But again, there's nothing of any. There's books there. There's
Okay.
I don't see anything.
Well, there's the Breslin book. Remember, we blew that up like
Right.
4 years ago.
Right.
Book World Without End. Oh my goodness! Remember when we first got our hands on this crap?
They might have wanted to see what type of books he was reading. I mean, I know Ginger was worried about where the porn went, and you know, I kind of said where the porn went, and I can probably figure out the porn went along with the army jacket. I believe from stories I've heard.
You know something? I have that little clip. It's really
yeah.
A poor
the one who really.
Patrick O'Shaughnessy. Did you want to hear that?
Yeah, just put what Patrick says.
Okay.
That's from his DA tape.
Okay, hang on one second. I'm going to go back here and share this instead, and let me. Yeah, we might have to play it like twice because it's you have to listen. If there's anybody still listening to us ramble here, just listen to what Patrick O'Shaughnessy says. It's very short. It's only like 30 seconds.
You got it?
Can you hear it?
No. Didn't hear it.
All right. Yeah. I'll summarize it and I'll share it. That sucks. Anyway, I don't know why you can't hear it. It's one of those things. I had that problem before. Patrick O'Shaughnessy basically says when he's talking to the DA, hey, like I never even went up to his Pine Street. I don't know this guy, whatever. And you want to share what he says about the sergeant?
Well, he said there was a sergeant selling souvenirs from the apartment.
And then he goes, then he kind of stepped back on it and said, well, I don't remember the exact words. Well, actually, I'll tell you. Go ahead. Do you have something you want to say?
No.
Okay. Yeah. At first, he says that the sergeant is selling souvenirs, and he goes, "Oh, that's just hearsay." So he stepped back a little bit. Yeah. Sorry about that, Paul. I see. I once in a while, and I'm not sure why this isn't directly connected on my timeline. I once in a while don't have a problem with the sound. So, yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
It is funny.
And that's why, like I said, you got to keep going back. Every time I go back and look at these reports,
you find something new. You find another little crumb that drops you back down in a hole.
And for people who have been following this case, there's been gets on that have stated, and it's been stated that they have souvenirs from the apartment.
Right. Right.
Whatever it is, it is. I'm just saying what people state, what's known. And then, again, there's an urban legend going around that jacket was taken. Does it make a difference? I don't know if it makes a difference, whatever it is. It's all hearsay as far as I'm concerned, until someone, comes up with it. But it's kind of ironic.
Stuff was taken. Come on.
Well, whatever. And then you know what? And then she goes, she was harping on that, and then the trench coat. And I can explain the trench coat from Freud, but that's another time. So So basically the only vouchers remaining are 3 of the 4 that have been unearthed. So if we could go to those, that have come out recently in the past couple months. And they're vouchered after the fact. So if you could go to those.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought we were done with the timeline. Let me.
No, it's A352201.
All right. Whoa. Give me a second. You see it?
Yeah.
Give me the number again.
It's A352201. Now, I believe these 2 vouchers, they're from the same series, although there's like 27 vouchers in between. I think that has to do with the date. There's a 4-day lag in between. Oh, wait, hold on. So I believe that one is from Velocito that did that, right?
Yeah, this is Velocico.
Okay, so if you go to the top, you can see he actually marks investigatory evidence. You see the X in that box?
I do.
So He did it right.
Investigatory evidence, yep.
Now you can see there, and I believe this is where here you go now. Go read what's on that voucher, and you're
All
going to have the answer to your question.
I see it now. Okay, green uniform pants, fatigue shirt, green poncho, blue zipper quilted jacket.
That's probably
White,
it.
yep, white furniture pad, yellow half sleeve shirt, square bed pillow, pair black half sneakers, spade, shovel, sealed box container. What does that say? Car waxes, fan belts.
Yeah, 4 fan belts, 2,
Reflectors.
wood reflectors, which
Yeah.
coincides
No, I
with
got
what
my
he told
answer.
Jack Jones,
It was
right?
a blue zipper quilted jacket.
Yeah, and
I got that answer.
and he told Jack Jones that he had those flares and things, like he was a buff. He used to pull over. Go to the bottom of that voucher and you'll see where I mean. Well, this guy vouchers right, and
Yeah,
above
it
property.
says above property removed from auto vouchered, and then it says the
301.
number.
You see where it says 301? What we
Yep.
don't have is the auto voucher. All right. The car, when you voucher a car, it's a totally different voucher. It's called a vehicle voucher. So we don't have that in the alleged FOIA reports. So, and as far as that car, from what I did know, it did exist. It was at the pound, and that was in College Point. But then they built the new police academy there, and then they moved the 2 pounds in Brooklyn, which was Erie Basin and Gowanus. And then what happened was another car that they had, which you would call like a showpiece, if you want to say. It was a car that an officer, Eddie Byrne, was assassinated in. And if you go to YouTube, within the last year, it got damaged during Sandy. Like a lot of things flooded over there. So there's like an effort to restore that car because they used to take it around. NYPD is infatuated with death. Their funerals are these big shows. And when they have this car, they used to bring it. They used to have a memorial for this officer every year on the anniversary he was shot. And they used to take that car out to where he literally was assassinated. He was sitting on a witness who was going to testify and was killed by like a big time drug dealer or whatever. So that car, I don't know where Berkowitz's car was around. From what I heard, what shape it's in now, I don't know. So just a fun fact.
Yeah, people have asked about it. I mean, I know that in some cases, some big collectors usually they allow after a certain amount of time for them to buy them.
Yeah. Now, I do want to go back to those vouchers because these are the two big things there.
Okay.
So you saw Filatico's was done good. Again, the guy who really stinks at vouchering, Zigo, he's got a voucher in that series A352228. And again, stuff from the car. He doesn't type, if it's investigatory, he doesn't, put it was removed from the car, whatever. Not a big deal, but those were items from the car. There's your blue jacket. And now the last voucher. The one that has, no.
This is the last one I have on the.
Okay, yeah, 6222292.
Correct.
All right, this was a voucher that all of a sudden, I don't know if it became a topic of conversation. I know I had gotten into a conversation with it in the video. The video isn't up anymore. I did sort of have a back and forth with Mike Lorenzo about it, and we just kind of were chopping back and forth because originally when I was in the chat too, it wasn't getting it. It has to do with the targets. Okay. Yes. But the other thing that I wanted to bring, and if Paul is still here, you do see that there is a knife that's listed on there. And I don't know if that's the same knife. I think it's the third one.
It says knife and case wrapped black tape.
So I don't know if that's the same knife in question, and that's what made me believe the other that it could have been stuff. This could be stuff from the apartment. I don't know. You
Yeah,
see, IB,
he had several knives, but they
right,
might have found one in the car, one in the apartment, like
right. You
that.
see one IBI security tag.
See that?
There's cases. There looks like paperwork, and that's where the one with the targets. But the whole thing that I brought up. And I just wanted to state a fact that the date on that voucher is June 23rd, 78. And it's
Correct.
vouchered by someone from the lab. So again, it doesn't tell us too much like in the disposition section. But, as far as like with the other two that we just talked about from the car, there's like a 27, you go from 01 to 28. But one's vouchered August 12th, the day after the arrest, and then one's vouchered August 16th. And why maybe Zigo was off. Maybe, you had stuff. It's not that it's, you got to get your stuff together. These guys from the squad, they keep stuff in their desk drawer and they'll voucher it later. Whatever it is, it is. I mean, those are just the nuances that people don't understand. They think that it's wrong. Technically, is it wrong? But, if it gets vouchered. But this other one here, June 23rd, 78, Berkowitz was already convicted. So now, is that knife the one in the previous voucher from August 11th to 77? And then it was taken somewhere and they were doing testing or
They were doing
whatever?
testing. That's what I think. I think that we had this discussion that this was stuff that was kind of like after the fact, like, yo, buddy, get this wrapped up. This stuff is still here. And, they probably
Whatever
needed
it is.
to do something with.
I brought that up. The date makes a big difference. Like I've said, it's been said so many times, you got to put things in chronological order. Dates make a difference. That's a huge difference. Can I explain it? No. There's another voucher of the 44 that's handwritten by a captain, and it's in that list too. Now, you're not supposed to handwrite a voucher. What we used to do is we used to make photocopies of it and scratch out how we were going to type it. Because if you screwed up the typing, it was always a big deal. So, these are the little nuances that I pick up on that most people don't. But, when it comes down to it, all these different things procedurally, do they make a difference? No, but this is what I like to talk about, or we could go back and forth. And whether you use newspaper articles, I think what you brought forth with the timeline is you brought newspaper articles and you can kind of find the reports that coincide with the articles.
Well,
okay.
Here's my comment on that. Are you done with these vouchers?
Yeah.
Cool. When it comes to stuff like that, it's one thing to just do research on newspapers, okay? But that's not what I do. I use the newspapers to link things and to fill puzzle pieces, and then I use them in conjunction with other things like police reports,
Right.
like testimony, like interviews. But people like to throw around stuff like that. But you know what? Well, I don't. Whatever. I know
Again,
what. Look, listen. When I have my mind set to fill a puzzle piece, I fill puzzle pieces, and that's what I enjoy doing. And the people who watch that enjoy, awesome. I appreciate you so much. And the people who don't, watch something else. It's all good.
Yeah, whatever people want to do, they do. Yeah. I mean, I changed my mind from the case, from what I believed, and it's from doing all this stuff and finally seeing the reports. So when you have the reports in your hand and you could keep going back and looking at these reports and, you could analyze the day, but what people want to analyze and what two people might have a different conclusion analyzing the same report. And
Absolutely. Listen, I always like to hear different opinions, and
yeah,
I think that it happened to you too. Ginger and I think differently on certain things, but she always brings up something that drives me to go back to refresh my
yeah,
recollection
and she
on
did.
what
I wish she was here tonight. I
Yeah,
really
well,
do.
she'll rewatch and she'll be on another live that if she has questions or whatever. But the point being is, and not just her, there's other people in the community too that they'll bring up things, and I will have to go back in my brain and say, wait a minute, they're bringing this up, and I know that I did this, this, and this, and this, and this is why I feel a certain way. Or I give credence maybe to what they say by what they present. If they show me a little receipt of something, I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Now I got to go back to the drawing board and see. I don't know. I go back and forth with certain things, but for the most part, since day one, since the first time I picked up this case, I pretty much feel the same. I'm just much more informed now. I'll put it this way.
Like for instance, I want to find the DD5 that outlines Sam Carr going to the 109. It's not that I believe that he didn't go. I believe he went. Trust me. I believe he went. But it's cool to be able to find the report. And trust me, there are reports in there that these cops looked into a guy because someone said a guy on my softball team is crazy and his uniform number is 44.
That's
So
good side
this is
story.
what they were being, inundated with, much like what's happening over in Arizona with this Guthrie case. But these are the things that, made this case so crazy and really got the public involved. And the public, it didn't become hysteria really until Suriani Esau dropping the note. And then now you're finding out about the palm print. I never knew about that. But if you go to that, I think it's True Crime Uncut with those articles. There's one with Justus and Gardella. And when you listen to these guys, again, these are guys, I don't know when these interviews were done, but they say stuff that doesn't make any sense. Like Gardella's like, yeah, he was shooting people outside of clubs. The only one outside a club was Eliphas, and just everyone thought it was Lover's Lanes and everyone thought it was that and everyone thought it was this. But, when you brought up that whole thing with the jacket just now with the voucher, and I had looked at stuff and come across the O'Shaughnessy thing because I was watching something on O'Shaughnessy. I'll go back and rewatch old videos and try to pick stuff up or look at interviews, and that's how you're constantly getting information and seeing where it fits and does this whole Again, once I looked at those reports and I did shows with, Manny and John Catalano, the two of the cases that I kind of worked with them was Freund and Voskerichian. You see how Maury came up with the book. The whole trench coat thing where Ginger's looking for the army jacket and the trench coat. The trench coat wasn't Berkowitz. But it showed up everywhere, and you could see why Maury might have assumed that it was other people. I have a completely different take on the yellow Volkswagen after looking at the reports and what was there. And Brooklyn is not complete. If you want to go and look at it, Suriani Esau is what you need to see, because that has everything really, really organized. And we were organizing that stuff. We didn't even have to touch that. So, people, go to that website. It's there. How they got it, for me, certain things were told, were brought to them, and that's great. That's great. But once it hits the internet, it's not stolen. So you can't do a 61 for stolen property. And that's that. I mean, take for what you will, have these discussions, whatever people want to talk about, it's their business.
Exactly. Well, that's how I feel. It's like, people like, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. What do you care?
Fine.
What the fuck do you care what I'm doing? Or what do we care what anybody else is doing? Nobody cares.
If they're doing it, have at it. Have fun.
Who cares? But anyway, all right. Well, if we're done with the timeline, I want to come back and at some point, definitely not tonight, but I would enjoy hearing again a nice organized description of what you think with the whole yellow Volkswagen, since that's still a thing. Okay,
it's not it's a
not
thing.
now. I don't want to hear it now.
You're right, but it's become more of a comedy routine. And then there's again, all I can tell you is that looking at these reports, so Ginger, I appreciate, the question she comes up, but there's explanations. There's explanations to the delay in the parking tickets. No
Well,
matter
then
what
we gotta
Gardella
we gotta
says.
do a Q&A sometime, do a little back and forth Q&A, because I'll tell you, for me, it's more exciting to talk to people who actually have different views of the case, because then you're shooting information back and forth, and when you all feel the same way, I mean, I don't know, to me, I'll use like
And I pick up stuff all the time from people doing stuff. I'll be like, and then that'll make me want to go back and look at stuff and say, oh, what about this? What about that?
yeah.
Just even the report from 2 weeks ago, how what was said. It's like, no, I can't be. You got to read the report and see
Yeah,
this.
we
Right.
covered that last
Yeah.
time. So, all right, man. So I think if we're done with the vouchers, yeah, bummer that Ginger couldn't make it tonight. But if you have some responses and stuff, just hold on to them, because I like doing these little kind of Q&A things at the end to pick it up. So we'll probably
Yeah,
have
keep the questions coming, Ginger.
to. Well, guys, I appreciate you jumping on, saving me there, because I was kind of all over the place. And nice to see Patrick and Forensics, Paul. Who else was on tonight? Just small group tonight, but a good one.
And Paul, a great newspaper researcher.
Paul,
Great newspaper researcher.
Paul will find when you can't find something, you text Paul.
Yeah.
Paul will find it. All right, so I guess that's it. Good night, guys. Book, thank you. I'm going to sign off here, and
All right.
until the next one, maybe in 2 weeks, and then maybe we're working on something a little on the sideline, something fun. So,
All right. Take care.
all right, take care, everybody.